Monday morning, Emily Carter found a newspaper lying on her front porch. That wasn't unusual. What was unusual was the date. Tuesday, October 14th. She frowned, assuming it was a printing mistake, and carried it inside with her coffee. The front page reported a fatal pileup on Interstate 90 that, according to the article, would happen later that afternoon. It listed the exact time, the location, even the names of several victims. Emily checked on date again. Tomorrow. She laughed to herself, tossed the paper under the kitchen counter, and got ready for work. At 3:18 that afternoon, every local news station interrupted programming with breaking news. A 23-car pileup had just occurred on Interstate 90. The details were identical. The same exit. The same time. The same victims. Emily drove home in silence. The newspaper was still sitting on her counter. The date hadn't changed. The next morning, another newspaper was waiting on her porch. Again, it carried tomorrow's date. Again, every story described events that hadn't happened yet. A downtown apartment fire, a missing child, a gas station robbery. This time, Emily didn't ignore it. She called the fire department anonymously about faulty wiring in the apartment building mentioned in the article. They inspected the property and discovered a gas leak before anyone was hurt. The fire never happened. Later that day, she spotted the missing child from the newspaper walking alone near a busy intersection and stayed with him until police arrived. That story never happened either. By evening, she felt strangely relieved. Maybe the newspaper wasn't predicting the future. Maybe it was giving her the chance to change it. For nearly 2 weeks, she became obsessed. Every morning, the newspaper arrived. Every morning, she searched every page for disasters she could stop. She prevented accidents, warned strangers, called anonymous tips to police, saved lives. The local news slowly changed. Reporters praised a streak of unbelievable luck. Emily never told anyone. But then something changed. The newspaper stopped predicting ordinary tragedies. Instead, the headlines became impossible. Bridge collapses without cause. Entire neighborhood reports the same nightmare. Hospital patients disappeared during power failure. The stranger the headlines became, the harder she tried to stop them. Nothing worked. The bridge remained standing all day until an earthquake struck that evening. The neighborhood laughed off the nightmare story until hundreds of residents reported waking at exactly 3:07 a.m., all claiming they had dreamed of the same faceless man standing at the foot of their beds. The hospital never lost power. Instead, 12 patients simply vanished from locked rooms. No signs of forced entry, no surveillance footage, no explanation. Emily felt as though the future was fighting back. Every event she prevented was replaced by something worse. She finally decided to destroy the newspaper. She burned one in her fireplace. The next morning, another appeared. She locked the front gate. The paper was waiting inside it. She spent the night at a friend's house. The newspaper was on the welcome mat before either of them woke up. She stopped reading it altogether. But each morning, curiosity won. She always unfolded the front page. She always looked. 3 weeks after the first newspaper appeared, she opened the latest edition and froze. There were no national stories, no weather, no sports. Only one headline stretched across the entire front page. Local woman found dead while reading tomorrow's news. Below it was her name, Emily Carter, age 32. The article described police discovering her body at her kitchen table the following morning. According to investigators, there were no signs of forced entry, no injuries, and no medical explanation. The final sentence made her blood run cold. The newspaper she had been reading was missing. Emily threw the paper into the sink and backed away from it. "I'm not reading it tomorrow," she whispered to herself. "If I don't read it, it can't happen." She barely slept that night. The next morning, she refused to open the front door. No newspaper, no headlines, no future. She sat in her kitchen, staring at the clock. 8 o'clock. 9. 10. Nothing. For the first time in weeks, she smiled. Maybe she'd finally broken it. A soft thud echoed from somewhere inside the house. Emily frowned. It hadn't come from the porch, it had come from the hallway. She walked slowly toward the sound. There, lying neatly on the hardwood floor outside her bedroom, was the newspaper. It was dry, perfectly folded, as though it had always been there. Hands trembling, she picked it up. "I don't have to read it," she whispered. She stood perfectly still for nearly a minute. Then curiosity won. She unfolded the front page. The headline was gone. Every page was blank except the last. Across the center, in a single line of black print, were 8 words. "Thank you for finally reading today's edition." Emily felt a sudden pressure building inside her head, sharp enough to steal her breath. The newspaper slipped from her hands. By the time police entered the house the next morning, they found her exactly where the article had predicted. Collapsed beside the kitchen table, with no injuries, no obvious cause of death, and no newspaper anywhere in the house. The responding detective asked everyone present the same question. "If there was no newspaper," he said quietly, "why are there fresh ink stains on her fingers?"